Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Salva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatosh Maham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Mark is joining us. Hello, Mark. So we have seen in the previous class that I suggest you guys would go back and watch it. We have seen the closing, the end of the previous chapter, on which we had this extensive discussion on the nature of the universe, whether it is real or not. Not real, and then we came to the conclusion that the universe is just a reflection within our minds, which is backed up by Maya and consciousness. So it's just like image, and not much different from the awakening, from the dream state, or some other states. Everything is just reflections in consciousness, and we are that consciousness. And if anybody is interested, you can even try to develop your own creation, the same way the yog did within the hill. And meanwhile, we lost Mark again. I think he's having trouble with the internet. So that brought us to the end when Dattatreya said, that Dattatreya continued, on hearing this discourse of the sage son, the king overcame his delusion. Hey, great, happy end. So the son of the king overcame his delusion. His intellect purified as he went on with his contemplation on the teachings. He finally he understood what is the ultimate goal in life, and then he began practicing Nirvikalpa Samadhi, not Samadhi, but Nididhyasana Samadhi. He became self-contained, meaning to say disciplined, and he understood his own nature as self-contained consciousness. He gave up his attachments to external agencies, and he ended up living a long and happy life, like self-realized entities. He ceased to identify himself with the body-mind and became absolute in his nature as consciousness, in analogy, the space of the space. And in that way, he was finally liberated from the samsara, the cycle of having to come back to this world. So you see, Parasurama, that the universe is only a mental image, and it's going to be as firm as one's willpower and no more. So it's not independent of consciousness. Investigate the matter yourself, and your delusion, which tells you that the world is not within you, but it's out there, will gradually lose hold of you, and it will be free of that delusion. Okay, thus ends the chapter on the story of the hill city in Tripura. So we are close, we're done with that subject matter, and we go into something else. The chapter 15 says, the title is on what need to be known and what need not to be known, and what is the true nature of the self. So it's about knowledge, and as we know, there are two kinds of knowledge. No? One is the dualistic knowledge in respect to the phenomenal world filled with all kinds of objects. So we want to know, we want to understand what's going on, and we want to have this kind of knowledge. And a lot of people believe that this kind of knowledge is the path to liberation and freedom. No? I have recently exchanged some message with a very good friend who somehow is fascinated with exoteric knowledge, and they believe that by gaining more and more mystical exoteric knowledge, which is based on a lot of speculation and someone's experience, and then interdimensions and that, and the journey is this and that, the more you know. So I have a short exchange with him, and I just came to tell him that unfortunately, so we depart from one another when we start exchanging our thoughts and insights, because he goes into the direction of objective knowledge. So, oh no, I'm highly spiritual because now I want to know, the invisible world of other dimensions and all these things. Okay, and you're going out, and my process was to go to look for the true nature or the source of the mind and the intellect, which is the path towards self-inquiry and self-knowledge. And these two paths never meet. Yeah? So if you want to gain knowledge of any phenomenal object, it's a dualistic knowledge which involves the knower and the known. Yeah? And that knowledge is never going to satisfy. Because it is, the more you know, the more you realize that all knowledge is subject to error, revision, and is going to expose more and more of my ignorance in respect to the phenomenal world. When we don't need to know, Ishwara knows it all. We don't need to know, not even these woo-woo sayings in the mystical world. We don't need to know, but if you want to know, knock yourself out. Go there and, enjoy yourself. So, but here, the discussion here is more in respect to knowledge. Even self-knowledge can be seen in two ways. One is the academic way, and the other is the direct investigation, that takes into the direct first-hand self-knowledge, not hearsay, not borrowed informational knowledge, not academic knowledge. So what needs to be known? What needs to be known is the true nature of the universe, which is the true nature of the I, which is the true nature of God, which is Brahman. So what needs to be known is that. But this knowledge needs to be a paroksha yana, direct and immediate knowledge, because it's not a knowledge about a Brahman out there or consciousness out there. It's a knowledge, I am that Brahman, I am that consciousness. So we're going to see as the text go. And then now we're going to look into what is the nature of the self. So on hearing that Treya relate the wonderful story of the hill and the kingdoms inside of the hill, Parashurama marveled more and more. With a clear mind, he pondered over the teachings of his master, his guru, and then returned to the guru and asked him again, Lord, so he has become the disciple of the son of the big sage, the one that used to go to Nirvikalpa Samadhi for thousands of years and come back and so on. So, Lord, I have considered the claims present to you by you on your teachings in the shape of the magnificent stories you told me. I understand that intelligence alone is real, that, supreme intelligence, knowledge. Yeah? Chit, I understand that consciousness, which is the supreme knower, supreme knowledge, and is the only reality. That alone is real. And that objects are only unreal images, like a city reflecting a mirror. Her transcendental majesty, the Mahaveshwara, is that consciousness manifesting as intelligence. I find it very nice, as intelligence. We say that it manifests as knowledge or as a supreme intelligence. So when we say that humans are animals, but with animals with a certain intelligence, it's a conscious intelligence. So this is the spike of consciousness within every human animal. It manifests, its consciousness manifests as intelligence, as a human consciousness, which is this spike of I am, and I know that I am. So consciousness manifesting as intelligence, cognizant of the whole range of phenomena. So I know I am, I know that I know that I am, and I know the world around me. So the moment that this cognition, I exist, and then the world exists, comes simultaneously, as we know, manifesting as intelligence, cognizant of the whole range of the phenomenal universe, beginning from the unmanifest state of sleep and ending with this world passing in quick succession within itself, this intelligence, this supreme manifest intelligence, which is nothing but consciousness, one's true nature.
Arlindo?
Yeah.
Mark is in the waiting room.
Thank you. That's you. Good that you can sit there as well.
I really can't see. He sent a message into the chat, WhatsApp.
He joined twice before, but twice he dropped out. Let's see. So we'll talk about the intelligence that manifests as the cognizant of the whole range of phenomena, beginning by the unmanifest, going through the subtle, and then ending with the physical material world, as we know. All these are apparently due to the self-sufficiency of that consciousness, and they come into being without any immediate cause. So what is the cause of the universe? Now we say consciousness is the causeless cause of the universe. It means to say that nothing has caused consciousness, okay? And although uncaused, because it's not part of this manifested chain of cause and effect. So it's free and independent, and it was never caused, but yet consciousness caused the universe through the power of Mr. Maya, of course. This must have been understood after deep consideration. So it's talking about the self-contained sufficiency of consciousness, because if consciousness would manifest something, usually. So any manifestation or any creation requires a lot of different things, beginning from raw materials and then sources of power, energy, and know-how, knowledge, and this and that. And consciousness has everything contained, including the raw material of this apparent universe, because there is no material at all. It's all a reflection in the mirror of consciousness itself. This must be understood after long and deep consideration, but this conscious intelligence is said to be beyond cognition because it always remains as pure knowledge itself. But this intelligence is said to be beyond cognition. So we need to understand that using our intellect in the light of the teachings, going through profound nididhyasana considerations, contemplations. We want to understand this intelligence, this supreme knowledge. But this intelligence is said to be beyond cognition. So because it always remains as pure knowledge. So this seems to present us with a great contradiction. This conscious intelligence is said to be beyond cognition. So how can it be said? So cognition is the ability we have to know things. So how it says that this supreme conscious intelligence is beyond cognition? Because it always remains a pure knowingness, pure knowledge. It remains as the pure knower. So the pure knower can never be converted into a knowing object or object of knowledge, as we know. Therefore, is beyond the cognition in dualistic terms, the cognition in terms of an object, because anything that is known to the mind, the intellect, is known as an object. And it's known through the intellect. And now we have something, this intelligence must be understood after deep consideration, but know that it's beyond cognition, meaning to say it's not an object of cognition, but it's the very source of cognition because it's pure knowledge itself, and you are that pure knowledge. We can only know consciousness as our own self, our own nature. Never will be able to cognize consciousness as something other than our true nature. But it means to say that it cannot be known. No, it does not mean to say that it cannot be known, but it cannot be known in terms of dualistic knowledge, okay? Because consciousness remains as the nature, the pure knowledge, which is the nature of the intellect trying to know itself. So the intellect trying to know the true nature of reality is only able to know the true nature of reality if it understands its very source of consciousness, its very nature as the supreme conscious intelligence. I do not see how it can be realized if it surpasses knowledge. The goal is not achieved without realizing it. More apparent contradiction. I do not see how it can be realized if it surpasses knowledge. The goal is not achieved without realizing it. The goal is liberation. What is its nature? If one can be liberated while alive, how is the course of this emancipate life regulated, if that is at all possible? There are sages who are active, he continues to say. What is the relation between the world of action and their pure conscious being? So he's throwing a lot of questions to his guru. At this point, he was already surrendered to his teacher. And then he keeps going to say that there are sages that are very, very active, Rajasic. And what is the relationship between action and consciousness? Huh? So if one realizes I am pure, limitless, actionless consciousness, so how come some sages are so active? Huh? How can they engage in action while all the time they inhere in absolute actionless consciousness? Such consciousness can be of only one kind. And liberation also can be only one in order to be effective. Yes. So liberation is the hard and fast knowledge in regards to one's true nature. And it's one and it's the same for all human beings. Huh? It's of one kind. And consciousness, which is the nature, is non-dual. And of course, there are not many consciousness, there are many minds, there are many reflected consciousness, but there is only one consciousness. And liberation is to know I am that consciousness, and there is only one way, one knowledge which brings about this liberation, which is I am that consciousness. So, but then how can they engage in action while all the time they inhere in the absolute consciousness? So there is absolute consciousness, but I see varieties, yeah, of expressions of liberated beings, liberated people. Yeah? So how can we explain that? You know, if what they are is actionless consciousness, why some of them fall in line with being, you know, not inclined to act, but others are extremely active, like Shimayananda. You know? So how then are these different notes in the lives of the yanis? Some of them are active, some teach scripture, some worship deities, some abstract themselves into deep samadhi. Some lead an austere life and emancipate themselves. Some give clear instructions to disciples. Some rule kingdoms quite justly. Some openly hold disputations with other schools of thoughts. Some write their teachings and experiences. Others simulate ignorance. Oh, this is a good one. Others simulate ignorance. I feel even too reprehensible and loathsome actions, but all of them are famous as wise men in the world. But as we can see, there are all kinds of difference in the expressions of those body minds. Every one of them following what? Following their appearance nature as a body-mind construct. Everyone has one such a nature. Everything has one such a nature. Yeah? Some human beings know, and the knowledge is one and the same. I am that such a nature. But all of them are going to follow their Mithya nature, which is their nature, the configuration, the guna configuration of their body-mind complex. So there is no mystery for us in this respect. They are all known as wise people. How can there be such a difference in their lives when there can be no difference in the state of liberation common to all? So again, this word state of liberation, you know, needs to be seen in our way as yanis, in this, how there can be their lives when there can be no difference in their true nature. Everybody's consciousness, okay? So how can there be difference if everybody is Turiya, which is not a mental state? Okay? How, when there can be, how can there be such difference in their lives where there is no difference in their Turiya nature? This Turiya nature is free and it's common to all of them. And then he say, or are there grades in knowledge? Are there grades in liberation? Are there grades in emancipation or in self-knowledge? Are there grades in self-knowledge? Well, are there grades in enlightenment, which is a terrible word, as we know? Kindly enlighten me on these points, because I'm eager to learn the truth and submit to you as my sole teacher. Thus requested, Dattatreya appeared pleased with the question. Oh, it was Parashurama and Dattatreya, sorry. Thus requested, Dattatreya appeared pleased with the questions presented by his worst disciple, and so on. So I just want to elaborate a little bit. Or are there grades in knowledge and liberation? So what do you guys think? Are there grades in self-knowledge? Are there grades in liberation? No. So this is a a good topic, you know, because it's my experience and observation that there are some grades in self-knowledge, in the sense that some self-knowledge are more firm and clear and not subject to doubt. Okay. So to begin with, self-knowledge begins as intellectual knowledge, and then later on it has to be internalized as direct knowledge. And then once one knows I am consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality, you know, that knowledge sometimes appears as if you know, fading a little bit, you know, or being subject to a small for forgetfulness, you understand? Because vasanas are going to put pressure on the yoni, and the yoni may, you know, respond to its environment, you know, from the body-mind sense of identity. But deep inside the yoni, no, I am free, limitless consciousness, and nothing can affect me. So the degree to which this knowledge is firm and always available, you know, gives us a sense of grades, you know, in this knowledge, self-knowledge. So, but the grades is only in the nature of self-knowledge. I am that Brahman is in relation to how clear and firm and always available that knowledge is. Understand? And usually this firm, more or less firm and always present knowledge is there, is a relationship to the residual vasanas or residual ignorance that are still popping up and presenting the old notions that, yes, but I'm also the body-mind construct. You understand? So the moment, I mean, gradually these vasanas are going to be purified, and then one is not as often subject to those human tendencies, and one remains more and more firm in one's divine nature as unconcerned, unaffected consciousness. So they appear to have some grades. The grades is not in the nature of self-knowledge, but it's in its firmness and firmness. Kindly enlighten me on these points, because I'm eager to know. And then you say knowledge and liberation. So what is liberation? Why this distinction between knowledge and liberation? So we We know these distinctions from Shine World. It goes to be sometimes expressed as self-recognition and self-actualization. You know, there was a time there was in fashion to talk in those terms. So the fact is that I know who I am, but somehow moksha or liberation is when that knowledge is firm, so firm that is actualized or internalized, you know, and it has purified my vasana load in a way that it's not subject to forgetfulness any longer. So there are grades in knowledge, self-knowledge, and liberation is not really much subject to grades, because liberation means when the knowledge is so clear, so firm, and so always available that one is said to be free from the symptoms of ignorance, this cosmic ignorance. So I'm free because I have purified my vasana loads, and I'm not subject to this forgetfulness, and therefore I remain as consciousness at all times. So liberation, I don't see much as subject to grades, but self-knowledge, yes. No? And then Dattatreya goes about to say, my dear Rama, worship Rama, highly qualified Rama, you are indeed fit to reach the goal of self-knowledge, because you have now turned towards the right way of investigation. So what is the right way of investigation? It's just investigating the nature of consciousness in the light of the Upanishad teachings, not in the light of the esoteric mystical teachings. So you have turned toward the right way of investigation. This is due to the grace of Vishwara, which puts you in the right way of investigation. Again, what is the right way to investigation? Is to investigate in the light of the teachings of the Upanishads with the help of a competent guru. Who can attain anything worse without this divine grace? And as we know, divine grace must be earned. So Ishwara is going to present us with these Upanishad teachings and the teacher according to our merits. So nothing can be attained without this divine grace, and grace must be earned, and you have earned this grace. Therefore, God has put you in the right way of investigation. The beneficent work of self-inhering divine grace is finished when the inward turning of one's mind increases in strength day after day. So now there is a good indication of how we see that we have been blessed by this grace that has taken us into this right investigation in the light of the Vedantic teachings. So divine grace, when we see that mind is turning inwardly, with increasing frequency, the mind wants to withdraw from externalizations. So if I said it well, of going out of this outwards tendency, and the mind wants to go back to this nididhyasana in the light of the teachings. So this mind is growing into this inwardly tendency on a daily basis. It's growing in strength, this sadhana, this vasana, for inquiring, inwardly in the light of the teachings is increasing, and literally one feels like, oh, I need more time. I need more time for this process, and I had to sacrifice some time with making money and being super rich and securing my retirement. So And this grows in strength, and we start betting most of everything we have to this inwardly research or search or inquiry. What you have said is so far is quite true. You have rightly understood the nature of consciousness, but have not realized it. Okay. So Parasurama now came after hearing one story after another story and teachings from different points of views, and he comes and says, okay, so I understand the nature of consciousness, and but I'm still confused. How can it be possible? So all this difference in expressions of consciousness, if consciousness is one and the same. So how is it possible to have so many mokshas or knowledge and freedom if consciousness is one? And then here Dattatreya said, everything you say is true, and you have understood the nature of consciousness, but your understanding is not directly realized as I am that consciousness in nature, okay? So you have not realized it, okay? So you are good, you are rare sadhaka, you are a rare inquirer. I'm proud to have you as a student, but you need to realize it. A knowledge of the property of a thing without actual experience of the thing itself is as useless as no knowledge. No? And so here he presents the realization of Aham Brahmasmi in an experiential manner, okay, by saying that a knowledge, and he refers to any knowledge, but ultimately self-knowledge is what brings about realization of Aham Brahmasmi. A knowledge, any knowledge of the property of anything, talk about in analogy, dualistic knowledge of anything, without a direct experience of that thing is useless. So it came to my mind now the experience of the knowledge that fire burns. No? So we all have had the experience of burning our fingers or hands with fire. But imagine if we have got that knowledge in a book and we have never had even contact with fire. You understand? Oh, now the books say that fire burns. But what is burning? I never know, because I have never seen a fire. Fire now is kept away from us human beings, but I have the knowledge that fire burns. So this knowledge does not mean much unless it has actual experience of something. So, and what is the experience of Aham Brahmasmi if Brahman is not an object of experience, you know? So what is the experience of Aham Brahmasmi if Brahman is not an experience? So the experience is exactly an experience of identity. I'm just redefine myself as consciousness, as Brahman. Okay, it's an experience of identity, if you want to put it in experiential terms. Okay, I experience myself no longer as the mind or as the physical body. I experience myself as consciousness. But how can you experience yourself as consciousness? No, it's not that I'm experiencing consciousness, because I am consciousness. I experience the world from the standpoint of consciousness. Okay. So I have shifted my sense of identity, and now I experience the world through my body-mind complex, but as consciousness. So our knowledge of the property needs to be a direct knowledge. True experience of the self is the unawareness of even I am, and then now here Dattatreya puts it more in terms of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, if I understood it right. The true experience of the self is total unawareness of even the sense I am, I exist. Can the world persist after such an awareness. So if we go into a state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi in which the I am disappears and consequently the world disappears, no? And then I have to say, yes, I was there and the world disappeared. So he say, can the world persist after such an awareness? Second hand. So if I go into Nirvikalpa Samadhi and the world disappears, okay, good deal. So I go every day in deep sleep and the world disappears. And I never think that, okay, it may be unreal, okay, because there are some other ignorance, ignorant conclusion that are going to hold the knowledge, hold the belief that the world is real. It's just that sometimes I'm put to sleep, but it's here and it was here and it was here all through my deep sleep. So the point is that true experience of the self is only possible as the self. Okay, it does not require a deep sleep or Nirvikalpa Samadhi. The world persists after Nirvikalpa Samadhi. It does persist, but the belief that I am the body-mind, which is integral part of the world, is not going to persist after self-knowledge. The knowledge that I am consciousness in which the body-mind and the world appears. But the second half, the second part of this verse 26, he says, second-hand knowledge is not better than the recollection of a dream. So first-hand knowledge, first-hand self-knowledge, and second-hand self-knowledge. It reminds me now of Papaji. Papaji in those days, he used to play with us or tease us, he used to say, so because we are attached to that environment on which he would be there telling us that we are consciousness and this and that, and in his own ways creating a lot of sattva guna, or mystical experience, and then we are there, and he says, yes, you are this consciousness, you are consciousness, you are consciousness, and then sometimes he would say, so you are not tired of this, So I have to repeat and you have to read, This is second-hand knowledge, okay? So you take your book and you read that book. How many times you read that book? So hundreds of times. Okay, you are leaking the book, and you never really, eat the meal. You're only reading the menu. You go to the restaurant, you read the menu, but you read the menu just to eat the meal. So he says, so please eat the meal and leave him alone. Go away, go back to your countries, So second-hand knowledge is no better than recollection of a dream, just as the accession of treasure in a dream is useless, so all second-hand self-knowledge. Second-hand self-knowledge or academic knowledge is not altogether useless, because you cannot get to direct self-knowledge without passing by second-hand self-knowledge. You understand? I'm just bring up some other point here. So first we hear that there is something as consciousness, and consciousness is free and independent to our human experiences. And furthermore, it's our true nature and identity, which is not a human identity, but it's the human nature. So first we hear that, and then it gets our attention or our curiosity. It's second-hand knowledge. Yes, we always begin with indirect knowledge until indirect knowledge is converted to direct knowledge. Okay, you remember the teachings of Ramji, indirect knowledge and direct knowledge. So we always have to go pass by second-hand knowledge first. And what makes secondhand knowledge? I mean, one thing is secondhand knowledge. Yes, I read the scripts, I know everything about consciousness, and I even heard that I am that. Okay, that's good. Because not only you know consciousness, but know you are consciousness. Okay. But it's still secondhand knowledge. Why? Because you still think consciousness as something other than yourself. You talk about consciousness, you even say that I am that, but you are still searching for it as consciousness is something other than yourself. Huh? So this is an aspect of indirect knowledge that somehow is indirect because in theory you accept that you are consciousness, but in practice you are still searching for it as something other than yourself, right? I shall illustrate all of these with a very old story, ancient story. There was formerly an extremely virtuous king ruling over Vidya. I think this most probably is a self-realized king. Extremely virtuous and just, it must be one of those enlightened kings. I bet with you. He was Janaka by name, the famous Janaka. Janaka, the great guru, the great king. He was very wise and conversant with both this world and beyond. A little bit of esotericism to make the book a little bit more appealing. So he was in connection with this world and the world beyond, the mystical world. At one time, he worshipped with sacrificial rites the goddess inhering as the self, the Tripura. So there came for the occasion all the Brahmins, Pandits, Hemets, critics, those versed in the Vedas, those accustomed to share in sacrificial rites and sacrifice, etc. They got together again. At the same time, Varuna, the god of waters. So he was a devotee of Tripura, a goddess. They came for the occasion. They came for the occasion. No, what? I did not understand the verse 30. Please help me out.
There came for the occasion, so all the Brahmins, it's just a collection, as you were saying. They all came together.
They all came together. Okay. And then among them came Varuna. Varuna is the god of waters. Yeah? And Varuna wanted to perform a similar sacrifice, but worse men did not accept the invitation. So help me with this one as well. By the king did not accept.
Oh, sorry. He's saying at the same time, Varuna wanted to perform a similar sacrifice, but nobody turned up. So the Brahmins, the Pandits, and everybody didn't turn up.
Yeah. But the crowd went to the other sacrifice. For they were pleased with Janaka, who respect them duly. So yeah. So everybody sticks to Janaka, and the Varuna is left, just imagine. So how resentful Varuna becomes. Then Varuna's son, who was a great dialectician, came to Janaka gathering. He disguised himself as a Brahmin in order to decoy the Brahmin guests on entering the royal chamber, he duly blessed the king and addressed him thus before all the assembly. O king, your assembly is not as good as it should be. It looks like a lovely lake of lotus ravaged by crowns, jackdaws, and heron. It would be better without this medley of incompetence. Okay, he offended the king and he offended the entire assembly. So that was his entering. He disguised himself as a Brahmin. He went there and right away he attacks. And then he carries on. I do not find a single individual here who will be an ornament to a great assembly, like a swan to a lovely lake of lotus. So in analogy, metaphor, he's offending everybody, telling everybody is ignorant. May God bless you, King Janaka. I shall have nothing to do with this multitude of ignorant fools. Being thus insulted by Varuna's son, the whole assembly stood up to the man and said in anger, "You charlatan of a Brahmin, how dare you insult everyone here? What learning have you which is wanting in us, what's missing in us? Wicked man that you are only a bluffer. You shall not leave this place until we have proved your superiority over us. There are great pandits assembled here from all over the world. Do you hope to defeat all of them by your learning? Tell us your special subject in which you imagine yourself more proficient than us." Thus challenged, Varuni, which is Varana's son, replied, "I will in a minute outdo you all in debate, but that shall be only on one condition, that if I am defeated, you will throw me into the sea, the water, and if you are defeated, I will throw all of you into the sea, one after the other. If you agree with these conditions, let's have a debate." So he's so tricky and deceiving that he being the son of the god of water, he had no problem to be thrown in water, but he wants to draw on everybody else. They consented, and the debate began in right earnest. The pandits were shortly defeated by the fallacious logic of the opponent, and they were sunk in the sea by hundreds. So poor guys, They went there, and then this fake Brahmin defeat all of them with fallacious logic. I mean, the power of logic is quite something. The power of narratives is quite something. So we can even have, a bunch of these pandits being deceived and defeated by this wrong knowledge, wrong logic of the opponent. And then they were all sacrificed and sunk in the sea. Varuna's followers then took away the sunken pendants to his sacrifice, where they were received with great respect, which much pleased them. Okay, and then he said, okay, throw them on the sea, and then let's take them, and we take to the sacrifice to our god Varuna. Because nobody wants to come, now you are coming. You are half killed already, half done, but we pull you and we're gonna sacrifice all of you in our festivity there. There was one by name Cahuela among those who were thus sunk. So there was one of them that had this name, and he had a son, Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra heard of his father's fate of being thrown in the sea, and he rushed to Janaka's court and challenged the skilled fake Brahmin, the masquerader was now defeated quickly and straight away condemned to the sea by the young avenger. So this young man, the son of Ashatavraka, named by as Kahuela, went there and defeated this impostor. Then Varuni threw off his mask in the court, and he revealed himself to be the son of his Varana Guru, Varana God Varana, God of the water. So he revealed himself, and then threw his mask off in the court and restored back all of the men formerly drawn in the sea. So he lost it and said, okay, I pull the people from the sea, they are well and alive, I give it back to you, it's there in your party. And then this young boy was really now puffed with pride and behaved offensively before the assembly court. So again, the young man came. The youth usually is a little bit arrogant, and then he took pride, and then saved his father, saved hundreds of other Brahmins, and then became a little bit arrogant and offensive. And so dependents were made to feel mortified before the youth. So the dependents were, okay, that's all right, because, you saved us. You can just, offend us a little bit. You are the great young man. So you are the son of Kahuela, so we respect you now. And, okay, we let you get away with it. But then what happened? A female ascetic appeared in the midst, to whom the offended assembly looked for help. Encouraging them in their hopes, the charming maiden with matted locks and hemmed clothes was highly honored by the king, and she spoke in sweet and yet firm tones. So there comes this celestial maiden, and then immediately the king, because the king was a just, fair, Janaka king, self-realized, a great guru, and he immediately recognized this soul, this charming woman, was a celestial being, self-realized, and he honored her greatly. And then she spoke in sweet but yet firm words to everybody, not to everybody, to one person in particular, which is the child who has saved all the Brahmins that was thrown into the sea. And then she turns to him and says, "Oh child, son of Kahuela, you are indeed very accomplished, for these Brahmins have been rescued by you after you defeat Varuni in debates." So good, very good. Thank you. You were great. You did good job. I want to ask you a short question, though, to which please give a straight answer, explicit and unreserved. So what is that condition reaching which there will be all-round immortality, knowing which all doubts and uncertainties will disappear, and establish in which all desires will vanish? If you have realized that unbounded state, please tell me directly, tell everybody directly. So now she saw the job that one pundit did against another pandit, who had offended the entire assembly of other pandits, and say, so everybody here is being, challenged, and some pandits defeats the others, but I have to come here to solve this problem once for all, because I only see the ego and the vanity of the ego, because these are all indirect self-knowledge. These are not true knowledge. And then she comes, presents a very good line of inquiry, say, what is that condition reaching which there will be all around immortality? So is this a condition? Yes and no. It is a condition because the mind of someone who has this direct knowledge will experience a certain mental condition that allows the yoni to recognize that the entire manifestation is eternal, immortal consciousness, reflected as people, place, things, and events. So what is that mental condition, which is a byproduct of a certain knowledge, reaching which will establish the mind with a certainty in regards to the immortality of this apparent reality, knowing which all doubts and uncertainties will disappear. Again, so once you know that knowledge, and then doubts and uncertainties will disappear. Doubts and uncertainties in respect to what? In respect to that knowledge, Aham Brahmasmi, and establish in which all desires will vanish. Once you know, I am that free, limitless, non-dual consciousness, what happened to the desires of the mind? So they vanish gradually. If you have realized that unbound state or knowledge, unbound knowledge, please tell us directly. Being approached by the ascetic, the Sana Cahuela, he replied with great vanity and confidence. I know it. Listen to what I'm going to say. There is nothing in the world not known to me. I have studied all the sacred literature with great care. Therefore, hear my answer. What you ask is the primal and efficient cause of the universe, being itself without beginning, middle, and end, and unaffected by time and space. Right on. Correct answer. And he carries on, it is pure, unbroken, single consciousness. The whole world is manifest in it, like a seat in a mirror. He knew the entire teachings. Such is that transcendental consciousness. On realizing it, one becomes immortal. There is no place for doubts and uncertainty, as there is none in the sight of a reflection in a mirror. There is no more reason for ignorance as at the sight of innumerable reflecting images, and there will be no more room for desire because transcendence is then experienced. Beautiful answer, isn't it? So that gives us a hint of how not simple, let's say, how difficult it is to not to be deceived by someone with such a great, complete knowledge of the scriptures. Someone may have this knowledge and yet not be self-realized. You remember the example that Swami Paramarthamananda give sometimes in respect to one great guru that he, as a young Vedantin, he used to go to listen to his talks every time he was in town. He's a Swami in the tradition. He used to give beautiful, beautiful teachings like such this one. And then one day, and he used to inspire and help many people. But one day he told the truth that he was not self-realized, and Swami Paramarthananda was amazed, by the fact that he knew so well the scriptures, and he could help many people, but he could not help himself. So we never know. We never know. If somebody presents this answer to you, you say, wow, the guy is really, the person is really self-realized. And he carries on to say, it is also unknowable because there is no one to know it besides itself. Ascetic, I have now told you the truth as contained in all the scriptures. And unfortunately, I get carried on. We passed our timing because it's so, this story is so beautiful. So we carry on next week from here. And it is really amazing. It's really quite something to see that even such a clear, pristine, impeccable knowledge cannot really benefit someone such as the ascetic present it, Okie dokie. Anything from you guys? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my good friends. We meet again. Today is Thursday. Next Monday, Ishwara willing. Thank you, Philip. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Arlindo.
Thank you.
Sorry I was a bit late today. My the electricity cut off just as the class started. And so, of course, the internet cut off.
I
as
see.
well.
Yeah, I saw you coming in and out. Yeah. We meet again soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye now.